My name is Xin Chan. I'm the president of Rice Graduate Student Association. I'm a PhD student in statistics. Prior to that, I was an Rice undergrad from Sept, class of 2021. Today, I'm joined by Crystal Unebu, the internal vice president of Undergrad Student Association. It is our absolute honor to welcome all of you and kick off the ceremony for the reopening of the redesigned Academic Quadrangle. Before we get started, please give another round of applause for the wonderful student musicians today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shin. My name is Crystal Unebu, and I'm a Hanson College senior majoring in sports medicine and exercise physiology. This is a historic moment for the students at Rice, and I am excited to be able to introduce our first speaker, Robert T. Ladd, the Rice University Board of Trustees Chair. Rob is a Rice alum and has served as chair of the board since 2020. He has led the university through historic events, transformation, and growth. Rob, we welcome you to the podium.
Thank you, Crystal, very much for that introduction, and welcome everyone. What a great event. I'm really here on behalf of our Board of Trustees, and many of whom are here. We just finished a week of board meetings, so thank you for everyone joining from the board as well. It, of course, is my pleasure to welcome you to today's historic occasion, the opening celebration for the newly designed Academic Quadrangle, I call a once-in-a-century event. Before we begin this afternoon, I'd like to take a moment to honor the memory of a member of the Rice community who we lost tragically just 2 weeks ago. Please join me in a moment of silence for fellow owl Andrea Rodriguez Avila. Thank you. We are all gathered here today to take in this remarkable, thoughtful transformation of this beautiful area, the Academic Quadrangle. The Quad has always been and will always be one of the university's most iconic and treasured spaces. The Academic Quadrangle is the university's architectural centerpiece, flanked on the north by Lovett Hall, right there, which is the original administration building that was opened in 1912. In fact, I do want to recognize our first president's grandson is with us, Malcolm Lovett, here today with his family. That was opened in 1912, and the Fondren Library to the south was opened 37 years later in 1949. Many classes of Rice graduates have received their diplomas in this quadrangle, exiting through the Sally Port, just right here, to put their degrees and talents to work and service in the world. The redesign of the Quad began in 2022 under the leadership of our Board of Trustees and then President David Lebron. We intended for the redesigned Academic Quadrangle to both fully acknowledge the history of our founding and generous founder, William Marsh Rice, and to mark and celebrate the important evolution and growth of our university over time. We believe the redesign, which includes the respectful relocation of the founder's memorial statue to a new location in the Quad, allows us to move forward as a community. The new Quad also supports the university's efforts to highlight the many voices that reflect the diversity of Rice, and it creatively dedicates welcoming areas to be centers for student community life. We are grateful to the Rice's Task Force on Slavery, Segregation, and Racial Injustice for its leadership, as well to the many students, faculty, staff, alumni, and other valued stakeholders, many of whom are here with us today, for their thoughts and guidance in helping us reach this decision. And we're very thankful for the internationally acclaimed landscape architecture firm, Nelson Bird Woltz, who worked with our university on this important project. As you can see, the firm's carefully and creatively redesigned quad has several wonderful spaces where people can gather, study, relax, and reflect. And we'll hear more shortly from Thomas Woltz. I was reminded coming up to this platform this afternoon that the last time we came together in this space, at least formally, was for the investiture of our president, DeRoche. That was just 2 years ago next month. So much has been accomplished in the past 2 years, and you should expect much more to come. I can report on behalf of the board that all is well at Rice under the leadership of our 8th president, Reggie DeRoche, who now will speak.
Thank you, Rob, and thank all of you for being here today to celebrate this important moment in our university's history. During my usual morning run yesterday, I had the chance to see the quad for the first time with all the fencing down as they were putting the final touches in place. It was around sunrise, and I was truly struck by the sheer beauty and the majestic nature of the newly transformed quad. So thank you for your great work, Thomas. And it's only going to get better as the new vegetation and landscaping grows and blooms in the months and years to come. Today, we are celebrating day one of the next 100 plus years. The newly designed academic quad is not just an enhancement to our campus, but a testament to our commitment to fostering an environment where innovation, collaboration, and community thrive. It represents a significant milestone in Rice's evolution. Our vision was to create a dynamic and inclusive space that reflects the spirit of our institution and meets the evolving needs of our growing population of students, faculty, and staff. Today, as we unveil this beautifully redesigned area, we see that vision brought to life. With its open and shaded spaces, integrating seating areas and flexible zones for gathering and studying, the quad is more than just a physical space. It's a catalyst for the intellectual and social growth of our community. The thoughtfully landscaped areas and modern features offers an inviting atmosphere where ideas can flourish and connections can deepen. The enhanced quad is not only a place for academic discourse, but also a hub for social interaction and community building. It is designed to be a welcoming space where students from different disciplines can come together, speak out using the speaker's plinth, where spontaneous conversation can spark new ideas, and where the bonds between members of the Rice community can be strengthened. The quad will continue to be a place to hold ceremonial university events like this in front of Lovett Hall. It can also be a place where people come to simply lay on the grass and enjoy the majestic beauty of the quad. Perhaps not during the summer months, but otherwise you can. As we stand here today, we celebrate not just a new physical space, but the opportunities it represents. The new quad will serve as a focal point for the Rice experience, a place where creativity, learning, community, and reflection intersect. It will support our mission to provide a world-class education while nurturing the well-being and connectivity of our campus community. I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to everyone who contributed to this project, from the architects and designers who turned our vision into reality, to the contractors whose labor made this possible, and to the members of our community whose input and enthusiasm shaped the final outcome. I also want to thank the many student voices that were critical in the discussion. I am personally grateful to the William Marsh Rice family for their sensitivity and understanding as we navigated how to transform such a beloved and iconic space into a newly imagined place of academic convening. We remain grateful for Rice's founding gift and welcome his family's continued engagement with the university. As we move forward, let us embrace this new space with the same spirit of curiosity, collaboration, community, and caring that defines Rice. Let the academic quad be a place where great ideas are born, where partnerships are formed, and where every member of the community can find inspiration and connection. Here's to the future and to the many wonderful possibilities that await within our new academic quad. Thank you. It is now my honor to welcome Trustee Ellie Anderson and Trustee Emeritus Donald Bowers to the podium. Ellie is a member of Rice's Buildings and Grounds Committee, and Donald served on the steering committee for the Task Force on Slavery, Segregation, and Racial Injustice. They both played critical roles in overseeing and bringing this project to life. Ellie and Donald.
Good afternoon. Thank you, President DeRoche and Chairman Ladd. As alumni and trustees of Rice, we join in today's celebration with pride, excitement, and also gratitude. Having been involved in this historic and transformational project from the beginning stages, we couldn't be more thrilled and inspired by the outcome. Today, our gratitude in particular goes to our landscape architecture partners at Nelson Bird Waltz, including the firm's principal, Thomas Waltz, as well as the tireless efforts of Lainey McKinnon and Ian Brennick. NBW's passion for educating themselves about the client before design begins is one of the key characteristics that led Building and Grounds to select this team, and their deep understanding is clear in the end product. The NBW team thoughtfully embarked on a careful process by learning firsthand from so many in the Rice community, from students to faculty, staff, and also alumni. They held community meetings in the quad before design was complete to walk the quad side by side with our stakeholders. They created a luminary lit path mimicking the curving path that we have today to learn and listen to our users and hear their stories about the quad. It was magical and such a defining moment of how much they wanted to hear from all of the voices.
NBW's plan for the quad redesign aligned with our aspirations for inclusivity and to celebrate the university's evolution and values. The primary goals for the redesign of the quad were to increase its place as a place to linger rather than just be a transit zone, to increase the amount of shade over time and make it a more welcoming gathering space for events in the life of the university, celebrations, and during more difficult times, conversation and reflection. We are confident the new landscape you see today will create an even deeper connection to the meaningfulness of the academic quad, to the Rice community, and to others who are drawn to the beauty of our campus. NBW's experience in designing, moving, respectful responses to culturally and historically significant sites of widely varying scales was a great example of why we chose them. From Thomas Jefferson's Monticello to Houston's Rothko Chapel and the Memorial Park Master Plan, NBW is renowned for creating thoughtfully researched, sustainable landscapes based upon the native ecologies of its projects. They are horticulturally creative, architecturally appropriate, both aspects that have made the firm particularly well-suited for the redesign of the quad. It is now our distinct pleasure to welcome Thomas Waltz to the podium to share his thoughts on this project and the beauty that you see behind us.
Good afternoon. Special thanks to President DeRoche, the Board of Trustees, and the Building and Grounds Committee, who has worked very, very closely with our firm on this project. But also, and I repeat, this project would not exist without Lainey McKinnon, Ian Brennick, Molly Gaspari, and Andeshe Gofrana Tabari, who are seated back here in the corner. These are my colleagues, my family, and co-conspirators in trying to find the truth in the land that we occupy. This is a project about people and place. More specifically, one could say it is about people, past and present, and about a place, present and future, that will welcome generations to come. This project grew out of a call from Rice students and faculty to clarify what we remember, who we remember, and where we remember as a contemporary academic community. I am humbled and grateful that Nelson Bird Wolf's Landscape Architects was entrusted, after rigorous interviews and a two-stage design competition, to lead. Trust has to be earned, by the way. To lead the effort to listen to this community and then use our design creativity to reimagine the space where we all come together with clarity, integrity, and honesty. What we remember matters. In some cases, where we choose to remember matters as much as what we remember. I believe that the land holds our human story and the energy associated with those stories. Place matters. This is what the students and faculty wish to address in calling for the reimagining of the Rice Quadrangle. What we have created here is a variety of spaces that welcome student life and encourage interaction with community, faculty, and alumni in what was formerly a scorching 4 acres of grass without a single place to sit down. Our human needs in the landscape are actually quite simple at the end of the day. Logical routes of movement, a place to sit, dappled shade, tables for meals and study, and reliable high-speed internet for the students. Central to the redesign of the quad was the task to reimagine and recontextualize the statue of the founder, William Marsh Rice. In his will, Rice left the bequest that would fund, 12 years after his death, the construction of this university. He is the origin of this institution. He was also an enslaver. His story is essential, but does not have to be the central story of this space. And thus, the desire to relocate his statue and the pedestal holding him 13 feet in the air away from the central axis of the quad. We have relocated the seated effigy of Rice in a garden setting in the southeast corner of the quad, where most tours of the university begin. A logical and respectful place to tell his personal story, acknowledge his history, and then move toward the narratives of the present and future as guests move on through the reimagined quad. In our design for the quad, we've divided the 4 acres into 3 zones based on the needs of this community. The area closest to the Sally Port we call the ceremonial zone, and as you can see, it is primarily open lawn with cypress trees that in time will offer shade from high canopies. This zone is intentionally wide open to maintain clear views to the historic facades of the Ralph Cram buildings and to accommodate gatherings of up to 3,000 people. We've added an expanded plaza, you can't see because you're sitting on it, of marble and brick and stone on both sides of the Sally Port to hold stages or tents for presentations inside and a welcoming plaza from the outside. We've also transformed the grass in front of the building into a vibrant garden of flowering plants. Give us a year, you'll see. Most of which are native to Texas, and all of which support pollinators and bring a dramatic increase of biodiversity to the quad. The central zone is called the Commons, and its purpose is to offer a large plaza that can accommodate a variety of groups and activities, surrounded by trees, offering dappled shade, a new thing for the quad, and multiple long continuous community benches, right at the heart. We've repurposed the pink granite base of the Rice statue, moved it off the central axis, and reimagined it as a stage from which anyone can perform, speak, protest, recite, or sing. It's okay. This is what we get to do in a democracy, and I think it's beautiful. The very same stones that carried a singular narrative of the founder for over a century has been reconsecrated or rededicated, if you will, and now can uplift a diversity of voices for the Rice community. We drew inspiration from Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park in London, the manifestation of a commitment to freedom of speech and opinion. We hope this becomes a dynamic heart of discourse at the university, just carefully scheduled. At the base of this plinth, we have added a stone panel with a quote from John F. Kennedy's lecture at Rice in 1962. Quote, "We meet at a college noted for knowledge, in a city noted for progress, in a state noted for strength, and we stand in need of all three." We thought that was an appropriate, the committee brought this to us and thought this was an appropriate place words to put at the base of this plinth for the collective voice of the school. The westernmost third of the quad, directly adjacent to Fondren Library, we call the community zone. And here we've planted a grove of fast-growing pine trees and designed 2 long shade structures with lighting to shelter the community tables from the sun and where people can gather, dine, study, and create, and enjoy all the high-speed internet they want. Stitching these 3 zones together are 2 major design interventions: the new pathway network that organizes circulation throughout the quad, and the large swaths of native perennials and trees that introduce color, shade, seasonal interest, reduced irrigation demands, and astonishing biodiversity into this historic quad. Some of the hierarchy and layout of the pathway network was developed by carefully looking at aerials over time and seeing where students had voted with their footsteps as they traced visible lines across the rectilinear quad, aiming for their desired destinations. These were quite separate from the existing pathway network. So the diagonal arc path that begins here and terminates on the axis of the campanile in the distance is lined with Monterey oak trees to create a shaded transverse diagonally across the space, and it was heavily inspired by these observations of student movement. This 4-acre landscape is a collaborative attempt to address many of the issues that face our society today: relief from extreme heat, water conservation, introduction of native biodiversity, confrontation of social inequities. Truth in the landscape is what we need in the lands that we share. I want to mention the heroic work of Matt Hester in particular, who has been the project manager for Rice, overseeing the construction of this project, and the leadership of George Ristow, who have been extraordinary in the execution of this work. In closing, I want to mention another important and hopeful tie that binds us all together, and it binds us to the landscape, and that is nature's beauty. I believe that beauty has the power to heal us physically and psychologically. My deep hope is that in the years ahead, you will each create a memory in this landscape where you find comfort, joy, fellowship, honest discourse, community, and yes, the chance to commune meaningfully with beauty. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you. I now would like to welcome trustee and alumna Gloria Tarpley to the stage.
Good afternoon. As a proud alumna, trustee, and member of the board's Buildings and Grounds Committee, I could not be more thrilled to witness and share this historic celebration with you. Thank you to my board colleague, Brian Patterson, who chairs the committee. And I want you to notice that a project of this scale, nuance, and importance could not be accomplished without the leadership of extraordinarily talented and knowledgeable campus leaders. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge a few critical individuals and the community. Most importantly, our gratitude goes to alumnus and trustee emeritus Charles Landgraf, who led the Board of Trustees working group that made the recommendation on the quad redesign. Also, immense thanks to Ellie Anderson and Donald Bowers, who you just heard from and who have been so critical to the success of this project. We are also very appreciative of former President David Leebron, who commissioned the Task Force on Slavery, Segregation, and Racial Injustice. We recognize and are grateful to the task force as a whole, and thank also the more than 1,200 individual members of the Rice community who took the time to personally respond to the board's call for comments on the process. We cannot forget to thank George Ristow, University Architect, and Matt Hester, Senior Project Manager, who collaborated closely and efficiently with NBW and were on the ground daily, yes, through the summer, to help bring this new design to life, along with Rice's Executive Vice President for Operations, Finance, and Support, Kelly Fox. We would also like to acknowledge the attendance today of our State Representative, Ann Johnson. And thank you for your leadership and support of Rice. And at this time, after months of anticipation, there are only a few things left for us to do. The ribbon cutting to officially mark the opening of the new quad, followed by a special musical performance from the Rice Marching Owl Band, we would never do without the mob, that you won't want to miss. As you explore the quad, please see the specially trained Academic Quadrangle tour guides who are waving their flags to share with you a wonderful experience steeped in the history and details of the project. Please take advantage of this wonderful afternoon, enjoy the refreshments, and thank you for joining us. Would the speakers now gather for the ribbon cutting?